Hello everyone, myself is Dr. Avinash Amangi. I am from Gurudev Academy, Dharwad. So today we are going to discuss with a mock test 10 of biology, majorly botany part of it is, right? So we'll go ahead with the particularly questions here, right? So first question. First question says the physicochemical component alone characteristics the habitat of an organism completely, right? Then diversity in the resource it utilizes and a particularly distinct functional role in the ecological system are some of the criteria that comprises niche of an organism. So based on that, if I consider statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct, because the physicochemical, not only the abiotic factor but the biotic factor even involves the particularly characteristics habitat of an organism completely, right? So that is what you are going to find out. So biotic organisms, many different type of what species are going to interact with respect to the abiotic factor to be into that particularly habitat. Majorly we call it as what niche itself. So that can be seen here. So statement in 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct, right? Then moving on to the next question, that is bottled fruit juice bought from the particularly market are clearer as compared to those made at the particularly home. This is because of the bottled juice are clarified by the use of what? By the use of mainly the pectinase and the particularly protease enzymes, right? Because of that only the clearance can be what seen with respect to the bottled fruit, right? So pectinase, right, that enzyme, and even the particularly protease enzyme that actually digests something called as what pectin as well as protein, right? Then choose the what incorrect statement with respect to the light as a major abiotic factor, right? Major abiotic factor, incorrect statement, what we have to find out. Many species of tall tree growing in a forest are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under the very low light conditions, right? Then many plants are depend on the sunlight to meet their photoperiodic requirement for flowering. For many animals too, light is important as used for timing their foraging, reproductive and migratory activities, right? And these availability of what light on land is closely linked with that of the temperature, since the sun is the source of what both here, right? So according to this statements, the incorrect one is what? The first one, that is what many of the species of tall tree growing in a forest are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under very low light. So low light condition can be seen in forest areas majorly, which is with respect to the what herbs and shrubs, because tall trees are going to cover up the particularly herbs and shrubs. So there we are going to find out, but a tall tree is going to get exposed with what a high light conditions, right? So option 1 is what incorrect with respect to the what light as a what major biotic factor, right? Then the efficiency of what feeding in one species might be reduced to the what inhibitory, right? Inhibitory presence of the what other species, even if the food and space are abundant, is called as, mainly it is called as what interference competition, right? Where the two species are going to fight for what one kind of resources, inside that one more is going to get interfere. So that is what inhibitory presence, what we call it as. So that I can call it as what interference competition, right? That is what majorly the option 3 is what correct with respect to this particularly what sentence, right? Then moving on to the next question, that is arrange the following steps in the what correct sequence as they occur in the particularly sewage treatment process, right? So that what we have to find out. Here effluent is passed into the what large aeration tank, and that allows what vigorous growth of what aerobic microbes, right? Then floating debris is removed through the particularly sequential filtration. Then a small part of what activated sludge is pumped back into the what aeration tank as a what inoculum, and the rest goes to the what anaerobic digester. Then the sedimentation allows the grit and the small pebbles to settle out, right? Then the bacterial flow sediments in a particularly settling tank after significant BOD reduction, right? Then methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide are produced in the anaerobic digester, right? Then the particularly treated effluent is replaced into the what natural water bodies, and based on this what choose the what correct sequence, right? So according to this I find out what is the sequence here. The first one is what B, that is floating debris is removed through the what sequential filter. Then the second one is what 2D, that is what sedimentation allows what great small pebbles to what settle out. Then the particularly third one is what A, effluent is passed into the what large aeration tank and allows the vigorous growth of what aerobic microbes. Then the particularly what E, where is E, what I can find out, bacterial flux sediments in a settling tank after significant BOD reduction. Then the fifth one is what the methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. Fifth one is what here, small part of what activated sludge is pumped back into the aeration tank as a particularly inoculum, and the rest goes to the what anaerobic digester. So anaerobic digester, that is what methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide are produced in anaerobic digester. Then lastly is what seventh one, treated effluent is released into the what natural water bodies. So here according to this option 1 is what correct, right? Then moving on to the next question, given below are what two statements, right? Here primary production is defined as the amount of what biomass of a organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plant during photosynthesis. Then primary production is expressed in terms of what grams per square per year or the kilocalories meter per square per year, right? With respect to the light of above statement, choose the what appropriate answer below, right? So based on that, if I consider statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect, that is what option 1 is, because the majorly rate of biomass production right, can be considered as what the grams per square per year, right, and even kilocalories per meter square per year, right? So that can be what seen. It is what the rate of biomass, not the primary production which is expressed. Primary production should be expressed in what the grams per square and kilocalories per meter square, right? So that can be what seen, but not with respect to the what ES, and this is ES wise if I calculating, it is what rate of what biomass. So here statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is incorrect. Then moving on to the next question, select the what incorrect match with respect to the what scared grooves found in different states, right? Kashis and Jayantin Hills, Meghalaya, this is correct. Arauli Hills, Rajasthan, which is what the correct one. Then Western Ghat region is with respect to the Karnataka, that is what even correct. So, Sarguja, Chanda and the Bastar, that can be seen with respect to the MP, that is what Madhya Pradesh, not with respect to the word Gujarat. So incorrect is what here, the particularly fourth one, right? So that is what we have to find out. Then moving on to the next question, the mainly bioactive molecule cyclosporine A is used for. Majorly cyclosporine is used as what immunosuppressive agent or immunosuppression agent, because that can be given to the patient who are undergoing what organ transplantation, and this tablet can be taken throughout the particularly life. That can act as what immunosuppression agent. So here option 2 is what correct, right? Moving on to the next same type of what question, right? Now what we have to find out, from where actually the cyclosporine is and statins are respectively produced by. Now who actually produces? The cyclosporine is produced by Trichoderma polysporum and the statin is produced by Monas purpurus, which is an yeast unicellular type of what fungi that actually produces what statin. Statins are known to be what clot busters, and cyclosporine can be known as what the immunosuppressive agent, right? So that can be isolated from Trichoderma polysporum is a cyclosporine A, and Monas purpurus can produce what the statin. So here the option 1 is correct, right? So that is what we are going to find out, right? Then if I consider Aspergillus niger, it will help in what? Citric acid production. Then again Saccharomyces cerevisiae will carry out what? The ethanol production, right? So that can be what? Seen. So remaining other related with respect to the what? The cyclosporin and statin. But what we have to find out? The match correct one, right? So based on that, option 1 is correct, right? Then identify the what? Incorrect statement. Here all animals depends on what? Plant, directly or indirectly, for their food needs. They are hence called as what? Consumers and also what? Heterotrophs, right? Then if animal feed on to the producers, the plant, they are called primary consumers, right? Then if the animals eat other animals which in turn eat the plant or their produce, they are called as what? Secondary consumers. Then the particularly secondary consumers will always be a herbivorous. According to that, if I consider here majorly the particularly the secondary consumers will be always herbivorous. No, the primary consumers will be what? Actually the always be what? Herbivorous, not the particularly secondary. Secondary one we is depend on what? Both of them. So you consider majorly incorrect is what? Option 4. So primary consumers will be the herbivorous, not the particularly secondary consumers will be the herbivorous here, right? So that is what option 4. Then given below are the two statements. One is labeled as what? Assertion A, right? Assertion A and reasons. No energy that is trapped into an organism remains in it forever, right? Then the energy trapped by the producer is either passed on to the what? Consumer or to the what? Or the organism will die, right? So based on that, here assertion and reason is what? Actually the correct one. And based on that, if I find out the answer, that is nothing but what? Both assertion and reasons are true, but reason is an correct explanation of what? Assertion, right? So based on the what? Energy production and energy giving to the what? In different tropical levels, right? So that can be what? Seen with respect to that question. Then match the least one with what? Least two, right? We have to find out the particularly match the following. So here if I consider majorly biodiversity is nothing but it is a combined diversity at all levels, right? So it is a combined diversity at all the levels of what? Biological organisms. Then majorly species, right? So biodiversity is what here? The particularly biodiversity is combined diversity at all the levels of what? Biological organism. Genetic diversity is related with what? Rauwolfia, Omitoria in the particularly Himalayan range. Then species diversity that can be seen with what? Majorly diversity of, right? So diversity of amphibians is greater than the particularly what? Western Ghats than the what? Eastern Ghats. Then ecological diversity is nothing but it is related with respect to the India has more ecosystem diversity than the particularly Norway. So based on that, if I consider option 1 is what? Correct, right? Here option 1 is correct. Then moving on to the next question, which of the following are considered direct economic benefit of what? Biodiversity, right? So economically what we can get it directly from the what? The particularly biodiversity. Medicinal plants, yes. Constructor materials, yes. Aesthetic pleasures we are not going to get. Food resources even we can get, right? Majorly here aesthetic pleasures are nothing but are noted as what? The intangible benefits, not a direct economic benefit, right? It's not a direct economic benefit, but it is intangible benefit what we are going to see. According to this, A, B and D is what the correct, that is what option 1 here, right? Then moving on to the next question, the components of what ecosystem are seen to the what? Functional unit when the following aspects are considered as what? Except one, right? So following component as what? Ecosystem and it's a functional unit, that how I am going to see, there should be what? Decomposition, there should be energy flow, and there should be what? Even nutrient cycle, but there should not be what? Stratification. So according to this, except one they are asking, that is what? Option 2 is correct, right? That is stratification here, right? So moving on to the what next question. Choose the odd one out with respect to the word adaptation in organisms. So biochemical adaptation are seen in organisms living a greater depth in the word ocean to face the word crushing pressure, right? So to face the word crushing pressure here, majorly like Allen's rule is seen in what mammals living in what colder climates. Yes, the short years what we are going to find out, right? Then altitude sickness is caused because of body not getting enough oxygen due to what low atmospheric pressure at what high altitude. Then desert lizards lack the what physiological and behavioral means manages their body temperature, right? So it is kind of what the habitual behavior what we are going to find out, which is actually odd with respect to the all of this, right? And this guy, the desert lizards, what they are going to carry out to get up or cope up with respect to the heat temperate condition, they are going to bask inside the what sunlight, right? So that can be what seen with respect to this. This is an odd one, that what the fourth option is, right? Then the given are what two statements here. The majority of what the Bacula viruses used as biological control agents are in the what genus nucleopolyhydrovirus, right? Then statement 2, nucleopolyhydrovirus are excellent candidates for species specific narrow spectrum insecticidal applications. So the light of what above statement, choose the what most appropriate answer from the what option given below. So based on that, if I consider here, both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, right? So both the statement 1, because Bacula virus to kill what so many insects, that what we are going to use, even that can kill what polyhedral viruses are excellent candidate for what species specific. So based on that, both the statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, right? Then given below are the two statements. One is labeled as what assertion and other is labeled as what reason here, right? The monarch butterfly is highly distasteful to its predator, and because of the what special chemical present in its body, some prey species are poisonous and therefore avoid the particularly what predators. So with respect to that, if I consider here, the both assertion and reasons are true, and reason is actually the correct explanation, because to avoid the mainly like what predators, prey will definitely have its own defense mechanism, and monarch butterfly is mainly it is going to produce a one kind of what chemical which is actually poisonous to the what predator, mainly what birds, right? So some prey species are poisonous and therefore avoid the what predator. So that what both can be what correlated. So here assertion and reasons are true, right? And reason is what correct explanation of what assertion. Then all the following are the correct with respect to the what mycorrhiza except, right? So what they are asking, all the following are correct with respect to the mycorrhiza except one, right? Helps in plants in absorption of what phosphorus from the soil. Then provides majorly, provides what here majorly, that is what resistant to the what root borne pathogens. Yes, these two of them are correct. Then mycorrhiza is a parasitic association between fungi and plants. No, they are symbiotically associated with the fungi and plants. Provides tolerance to the salinity and the drought in particularly plants. That is what even correct. So here incorrect is what the particularly mycorrhiza is a parasitic association with fungi. It's a symbiotic association. So here the option 3 is correct with respect to this particularly question, right? Then match the least one with what least two. Then here habit loss, over exploitation, alien species coexistence, what they have given. So here with respect to the what habitat, if I consider the majorly here the particularly option based, what I am going to see here, that is the habitat loss can be seen up with respect to the what, the cutting of forest for what growing the soya beans, that can be seen. Over exploitation, it is nothing but what extinction of what Stelis sea cow, right? Then the particularly alien species, that is nothing but what invasive growth of what Ecornia. Then coexistence, that is nothing but what invasion. So based on that, option 4 is what correct here, right? So as it is a match the following, so that what we have to find out. Then identify the incorrect statement from the word following, right? In situ approach of the word conservation of biodiversity, threatened animals and the plants are taken out from their natural habitat and placed in a special setting where they can be what protected and given a special care. Then zoological parks, botanical garden and wildlife safaris serve the purpose of what ex situ conservation. In recent years, in situ conservation has advanced beyond keeping the what threatened species in enclosures. So according to this, if I consider, that is what A and C only are what incorrect, right? Because you consider majorly this is approach of what conserving a biodiversity, threatened animals and plants are taken from their natural habitat is majorly called as what ex situ, right? Is majorly called as what ex situ. In recent years, in situ conservation has advanced beyond keeping the threatened species in enclosures, which is what even with respect to the what ex situ. So here option A and C is only the particularly incorrect related with respect to this question, that is option 3, right? Then moving on to the next, that is here majorly reward Popper hypothesis is given by Stanford ecologist, that is Paul Ehrlich, to explain the importance of species richness for the what safety of an ecosystem. Then according to this hypothesis, rewards on the what wing of an airplane is compared with the particularly key species and that drive the major ecosystem function. Choose the what most appropriate answer from the what given below, right? Here A and B are what actually correct. So that is what related with each other and these both of them are what correct, that is A and B are correct. Then choose the what correct options with respect to the products which are produced by the usage of what yeast, right? So if I consider yeast carries out fermentation and yeast even can be called as what baker's yeast or brewer's yeast too, right? So here the bakery product is bread and brewer's yeast is what beer. So both can be produced by means of what yeast, bread as well as what beer. So here option 4 is correct, right? Then select the what incorrect statement with respect to the calotropis, right? So calotropis incorrect statement here, that is nothing but what it is a poisonous weed, right? So that is what correct. It contains the toxic chemical, that is what cardiac glycosides, yes it is correct. It develops morphological means to avoid what predation, this is wrong. Then cattle and goat never browse onto this particularly plant, yes. It won't change the morphology, but instead it produces what the chemical substance so that it can avoid the particularly browsing animals, right? So that is what the option 3 is correct according to that, because they are asking incorrect statement with respect to the calotropus. There will not be any morphological changes, right? Then given below what assertion and reasons, right? Reason assertion says when resources are limited, the competitively superior species will eventually eliminate the other species. Then reason says in general herbivorous and plants appear to be more adversely affected by the competition than the carnivorous. So based on the particularly this statement here, assertion and reasons are true, but reason is not actually the correct explanation of what assertion, right? Then moving on to the next question, that is sequence the given below, list the biomass from the what lowest to the highest mean annual precipitation, mainly what rainfall, that what we have to find out. So according to that, if you consider sequence wise, the sequence the given below, list of biomass from the what lowest, list of what biomass from the lowest to the highest, and mean annual precipitation. So lowest to the highest I have to go. So first one is what mentioned, desert, grassland, tropical forest, coniferous forest. So less precipitation can take place with what first as lowest desert, first one, second one is grassland, third one is what here the tropical forest, right? Mainly coniferous forest, and the fourth one is what? A tropical forest. So here A, B, D and C. So option 3 is what? Correct. So here they have mentioned D, but it is what? C actually. So this is what the actual sequence what you can find. 1, 2, A is 1, B is 2, D is 3 and C is what? 4. So according to that, A, B, D and C. So option 4 is what? Correct. Right. Then given below again the statements, right? So majority, first statement says majority of the organisms can tolerate and thrive in a wide range of temperature and are called as what? Eurothermal, right? Then few organisms which are restricted to narrow range of temperature are called as what? Stenothermal. So according to this, the particularly both the statement 1 and statement 2 are incorrect, right? Because with respect to this, if I find out, majority of the organisms can tolerate and thrive in a particularly wide range of temperature and are called as, they are called as what? Actually stenothermal. These are called as stenothermal. And a few organisms which are restricted to narrow range of temperature, they can be called as what? Eurothermal, right? They can be called as what? Eurothermal. So here both the statement 1 and statement 2 are incorrect, right? Done. Then the predominant gas in biogas, right? So predominant gas in biogas is what? Methane, right? So directly what we can answer, direct form of what questions, right? Then the solids with solid which settles after the primary treatment of CH are called as, they are mainly solids which get settled, they are mainly called as what? Primary sludge. They are called as what? Primary sludge here, right? So based on this, the particularly option 1 is correct. Primary sludge it can be called as after the primary treatment. Then read the following statement and select the what? Correct options. Endoparasites live outside the what? Host body. Then the particularly evolution of the flower and its pollinator species are highly linked with one another. The wasp pollinates the particularly fig inflorescence while searching for the what? Suitable egg laying sites. So choose this particularly based on majorly correct ones what we have to find out here. That is here the option 4 is what? Correct. Majorly what it can do, the evolutions of the flower and its pollinator species are tightly linked with one another. Then the particularly the wasp pollinates the fig inflorescence, search for what? Suitable egg laying option. That is what option 4 is correct, right? Endoparasites live on to the what? Host, they are saying outside the host, but endoparasite live inside the particularly host, right? So that is what we are going to see. Then here may they mentioned regulatory, conforms, migratory and suspend, right? So based on that what we have to find out here, the regulators are what? Mammals. Then conforms, mainly conforms are what? The shrews. Then migrators are nothing but what here? The Siberian crane. Then suspends are what? The particularly fungi. According to that, the option 1 is correct here, right? Then moving on to the next, how many of the what following statements are correct with respect to the trichoderma, right? Then developed for the use in the what? Treatment of what? Plant disease, right? Developed for the treatment of what? Plant disease here, that is majorly biological control being developed for the use of what? Treatment of what? Plant disease is a fungus trichoderma, means what? This is a correct. Then its species are what? Free living fungi, right? So its species are what? Free living fungi. Then they are what? Free living fungi, and that are very common in what? Root ecosystem. They are what? Very common in root ecosystem, right? So here the option is what? Correct. They are few very common in what? Shoot ecosystem, they are saying, right? So this is what actually mainly like what you consider. Then effective biocontrol agents of what? Several plants. So according to this, if I consider the 3 statements, so they are what? Effective biocontrol agents for what? Several plant pathogens, and choose the what? Most appropriate answer from the option B given below. So here if you consider, this is, they are mentioned shoot ecosystem, but they are related with what? Majorly like root ecosystem. So option 3 is what? Correct, right? So 3 of them means what? Sorry, option 2 is correct, 3 of these are what correct and 1 is what incorrect, right, related with trichoderma. Then moving on to the next, right. So next, if you consider mainly here, again match the following. They have mentioned biocontrol agents and pest or pathogens, what they are saying. So according to that, if I consider here, majorly ladybird is related with what, aphids, right. Then the particularly dragonfly is related with respect to the mosquitoes. Then Bacillus thuringiensis is related with respect to the ear, the butterfly caterpillars. Then Bacula virus is related with what, arthropods and the particularly insects. So according to this, option 4 is correct, right. Then moving on to the next, choose the what incorrectly matched pair, that oprices and male bee competition they are saying. Then Cathamalus and the Belnus is what competition. Then Cuscut and hedge plant is parasitism. Pistes are what, the majorly predators. So according to that here, the incorrectly matched is what, opus and the male bee is what, competition. Here mainly if you consider, Mediterranean orchids opus employs what, sexual depict, right, to the what population pollination done by the species of this particularly what bees. So mainly mutualism what we can find out here, not the particularly competition. So here option 1 is what, incorrectly matched pair according to the what question. So option 1 is correct, right. Then gross primary productivity minus A is the net primary productivity. Select the correct option. A is what, respiration loss, B is secondary, A is producers, B is what, primary, A is respiration loss and B is primary, and A is consumers and B is what, secondary. So based on that, if I consider A is what, actually respiration loss and B is what, the primary productivity, right. So that is what, the net primary productivity, what majorly we call it as, right. So which is GPP, gross primary productivity minus respiration loss. Here option 3 is what, correct, right. Then given below are the what, 2 statements. Statement 1, species richness does not contribute to the what, well-being of an ecosystem. Then statement 2, increased diversity contributed to what, higher productive in the Tellman's experiment, right. So with respect to the what, above experiment, we have to find out the correct one, right. So statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is what, actually correct. So species richness does not contribute to the well-being of the particularly of an ecosystem, right. So that is, it actually contributes well-being of an ecosystem, right. So here statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct, right. Then again match the column 1 with what, column 2, right. So that what we have to find out. Here they have mentioned microbes and used in the production of different, right. So majorly Propionibacterium cermani, that can be used for the what, Swiss cheese production. Then Saccharomyces cerevisiae, that can be used for the bread purposes, right. Then Penicillium notatum, that can be used for the production of what, penicillin. Monas purpurus can be used for the what, blood cholesterol lowering agent, right. So that is what option D. So based on that, option 2 is correct, right. Then match the least one with respect to the least 2. So we have to find out which one is amensalism, commensalism, parasitism and competition. So based on that, if I consider mutualism is related with what, the majorly mutualism is related with here, the plus is what, mutualism. So majorly one species is benefited, one species, both of the species are benefited. Competition, both of them are going to get affect, right. That is what, minus. Then plus minus is what, predation, one is benefited, one is what, actually particularly affected. Then parasitism, again one is affected, one is benefited, that is what we call it as parasitism, right. Then one is what, benefited, one is neither benefited nor affected, that is what, the commensalism, right. And lastly amensalism, that is what, one is harmed and one is what, not benefited or not particularly got. So based on this, I can match the column here. So competition, first if you consider amensalism is what, plus minus, this is what you can, plus 0, minus 0, right? Then commensalism is related with what, plus minus, so this is I can find out. The parasitism, competition is what, here both of them are going to get affect, and parasitism is one is benefited and one is what, so sorry, parasitism is this, right, and the particularly commensalism is this. So based on this, if I consider here, the option 2 is what, correct, option 2 is correct, right? So like that what we have to find out the option, right? Then from the what given below examples, identify the ones that explains the loss of what biodiversity due to the over exploitation of what natural resources, right? Here extinction of 200 species of what killed fish due to the introduction of what nail perch in the Lake Victoria, right? So over exploitation of our natural resources. So the majorly examples what we have to find out, right? So here if I consider based on that, the particularly that is majorly that then the threat caused to the what native species of what crop by invasive weed like what lantana, right? So then if you consider extinction of what passenger pigeon, over exploitation of what natural resources, right, that what they are asking. So that is what C you consider, that C is correct. Then the endangerment of what commercially important marine species due to the what over harvesting of the fishes, right? So here actually C and D is what the correct with respect to the what, the loss of what biodiversity due to the what exploitation of what natural resources, right? Then which of the following are what, which of the following are critical factors for what biodiversity conservation? So critical factors for the biodiversity conservation, that is what, habitat restoration, that should be there. Then you consider majorly exotic species removal, that should be there. Then water conservation is what, incorrect, right? Then genetic diversity, that should be there. Then the pollination reduction, that should be there, like, and that is what actually lead into the critical factor for biodiversity conservation. So here majorly A, B, then the particularly D and the E is what required. So here option 4 is what correct, right? Then moving on to the next, which of the following interactions are the examples of what mutualism here, right? So mutualism basis, if I consider, right, mutualism basis, that is nothing but interactions are the examples of what mutualism. A lichen composed of the fungus and an alga, right? A, that is what the tapeworm in the intestine of what human. Then a barkane attacked to the what whale. Then an orchid growing onto the what tree branches, right? So interactions are the examples of what mutualism. So mutualism example what we have to find out here, only A is known to be the examples of what the mutualism, that is what fungi associated with algae, that itself is nothing but what lichen component, right? So that is what A, only A, right? Then given below are two statements, one is what assertion here and one more is what reason. So mainly here assertion what it says, the ethical argument, right, for the conserving the biodiversity relates to the what we owe to the what millions of plants, animals and microbe species with whom we shares this particularly planet. Then the reasons, philosophically or spiritually we need to what realize that every species has an intrinsic value, and even if it may not be current or any economic value to us, right? So based on that, if I consider here, both the assertion and reasons are true, and reason is what actually the correct explanation, because with respect to the religious aspects or any kind of aspects, let it be a whatever kind of microorganisms, maybe smallest to smallest microorganism, maybe which is not useful for us, but that even can be what stored, because that plays very important role in ecosystem, right? So that is what the matter of what conserving this, and that is what they have made a oath related to the what particularly conserving the organisms. Then moving on to the next question, that is what select the incorrect statement regarding decomposition. So incorrect statement they are telling here, right? So according to that, if you consider decomposition is largely an oxygen requiring process, yes, the rate of what decomposition is controlled by, right, controlled by the chemical composition of detritus and the climatic factors, yes, this is even required. Decomposition rate slowest if detritus is rich in nitrogen and water soluble substances like sugar, and quicker, right, if it detritus is rich in what, chitin and lignin. So this is wrong, right. So majorly like what, if it is there is a chitin and lignin, then definitely it will get slower down, right. So that's what we are going to find out. Then temperature and the soil moistures are the what, the most important climatic factors that regulate the decomposition through their effect onto the what, activities of soil. So here the incorrect statement is what, only 3 remaining, that is what 1, 2 and 4 are what, correct related with respect to the decomposition. Then here again match the column 1 with respect to the what, column 2, right. So compound they have given and sources they have given. So citric acid is actually produced by means of Aspergillus niger, right. So citric acid is produced by whom, the particularly Aspergillus niger here. Then bitric acid is actually produced by means of Azotobacter aceti, right. So majorly here citric acid is produced by Aspergillus niger, bitric acid is produced by means of Clostridium botulicum, right. So that is what we are going to see. Acetic acid is produced by means of what, Azotobacter aceti, and ethanol is produced by means of what, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So this is what actual correct match. According to that, option 4 is what correct. Moving on to the next question. The annual net primary productivity of the particularly ocean is, right. So annual net primary productivity is what, 55 billion tons, right. So direct form of what question it is, the annual net of what primary productivity of ocean is what, the 55 billion tons. That what I am going to see, right. Then select the what, incorrect statement, right. So here we have to find out what incorrect statement. The base of what, each ecological pyramid represents the producer or the first tropical level, while the apex represents the tertiary or the top level consumer. Yes, this is correct, right. Based on that only the ecological pyramid can be what, formed, right. Then majorly here a given organism can occupy only one tropical level. No, it can occupy any tropical level, like, right. So here the option 2 is what, incorrect, right. Then the tropical level represents the functional, not a species as what such, right. So this is correct. Energy at what, low tropical level is always more than at a higher level. So according to this, incorrect statement is what, option 2, right. So remaining all of them are what, the particularly the correct one, that is 3 and 4 are correct, and the second one is what, incorrect here, right. So based on that, if I consider related to this question, the option 2 is what, correct, right, because we have to find out incorrect statement. So that's all with respect to the what, the mock test 10. So please do subscribe our channel, like and even hit the bell icon. Thank you so much.